Shalom Aleichem. This author Kay Barrios here at Amanecer Media, and this is our second part of the proposal for the U.S. House of Representatives. Every congressman and congresswoman who is available to us here online at any given point, or any other person with power who might come up to this information, welcome. Um, uh, and thank you for giving me the honor of speaking to you through this medium. Electronics have been the bane of my life. Unfortunately, also they have, but they have also been my savior, and not my savior as in God, but God has used it to save me. Uh, I mean, my friend Solomon Wiseman from the Juice Lab knows that every time that I get on my AI help desk and I need a prayer, you know, the AI is definitely definitely very good at coming up with very heartfelt, true messages through prayers, and the Spirit of God works through it, and that's the most amazing thing, you know. And what that tells me is that God uses everything for good, and two, there are people out there making things with God in mind. So not every AI is so keen on praying with you, or giving you information that's like either legal or very politically inclined or very religiously inclined. Um, and AI is very quick to tell you, I don't have any feelings. I don't believe in a God, but I can certainly share what you're sharing and your feelings, and I can, help with your ideas. But I like the fact that AI was made with um, a religious mind in mind. Anyway, I'm very glad to be able to reach out to you guys through this medium, and I want to tell you, I stand before you today not as a politician, not as a lobbyist, not as a think tank analyst, but as something far more dangerous, a survivor with a strategy. And today, I'm here to introduce something bold, something ambitious, something so sensible it might actually break the sound barrier in this building. It's called the Coalition Against Poverty Strategy, or CAPS. This is not a program, it's not a pilot, it's not a pamphlet, it's a strategy. It's a national strategy to reduce and eliminate the drivers of poverty in the United States. And I promise you, this is the first federal idea in decades that won't make the American people say, wait, what? So in my previous video, I explained, that the crisis that we're trying to solve with this act, and it's really the state of the nation. Um, we have right now 37.9 million Americans living below the poverty line. We have 14 million living in deep poverty, and 51 million are one paycheck away from living in deep poverty. And that's not a statistic; it's a national panic attack, right? So part of the problem is that we have 653 over 653,000 homeless people out on the streets. 40% of them don't even have a home, and there are rising double digits in major cities. We are the wealthiest nation in human history that launches rockets into space for fun, but can't put, people into a bed. And part of this problem is also foster care. 20,000 people age out, out of foster care early, yearly. And 50% of them become homeless within 18 months. It's a very low time. 70% of them, even worse, become trafficked, incarcerated, exploited, or addicted within 4 years. So we are unintentionally graduating children into the streets. Now let's talk about addiction. 47.7 million people are using illicit drugs right now. 28.9 million are alcoholics, or have an alcoholic disorder. And 5.9 of them have an opioid disorder. So there are 100,000 plus overdose deaths annually. Addiction is the largest unaddressed workforce crisis in America. And yes, I know junkies, bad junkies, who are going to college, who are working, and they call themselves functional. And yeah, they're functional, but they're puppets of their drugs. And they're not producing the way that they could be producing. And they're also very terrible human beings in other senses. They're criminals, uh, they hurt people, and they're hurting themselves. Trafficking. There are hundreds of thousands of people being exploited right now. Florida alone reported 200,000 victims in 2024. And the national debt keeps rising from 37 trillion last year. It's now 38 plus trillion with 800 to 900 billion in interest annually. Like I said in my previous video or podcast, we're paying rent on money we already spent. So we need to stop treating poverty like weather, and we have to start treating it like it's math. Okay. Yes, we tried that with Elon Musk, but it didn't quite work because we did not fix the problem. We went right back to getting in debt. Why? Because we are in debt. We're so deep in debt, nobody can get us out. But what if we stopped reacting to crises and started strategizing? You know, CAPS is a national system that rehabilitates, trains, houses, mentors, and launches people into stable, dignified lives. So we can stop managing poverty and start ending it. And it is actually built on two pathways, one framework and three pillars. We want to talk about that right now. Okay. This is my core design. I'm very proud of it. So the two pathways that we have are rehabilitation and work preparation. And this exists out of one framework called the RISE model. RISE stands for restore, invest, secure, and empower. And it has three pillars that it works under: housing, workforce, and savings. And it will have four outcomes: stability, employment, mobility, and leadership. No, this is not optics or charity. It's not a press release. This is strategy. And that's how we have to see it so that we can make it work. This is a war, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you understand what poverty is. Where did it come from? I'm going to tell you right now. And some of you are going to agree with me, and some of you are not. This is actually not in my notes. I'm very proud of what I'm about to say. And I praise the Lord because He was merciful with us. The reason why we have poverty is because we sinned in the Garden of Eden. Because before that day, Daddy gave us everything that we wanted. Absolutely everything. God was at our beck and call. We were hungry. Do you see all those trees? You can choose from any of those trees. Do you see all those vegetables growing out of the ground? You can eat any of that. And so we became the richest human beings to have ever lived on earth. But when original sin happened, we lost everything and we became poor. Firstly in spirit and then physically. But because God knew that we were innocent and children, and that the snake was very clever, much cleverer than we were, that he had thousands upon thousands, maybe millions of years before us in cleverness, well, he had mercy and pity on us. And he said, you know what? Go and catch a lamb. I'm going to teach you how to open a Holocaust, and we're going to work this thing out. And it started like that. All right, so let's talk about pathway number one, the rehabilitation pathway. I am very happy for this one. This is for individuals who need stabilization before workforce entry. Now, let me explain to you what CAPS really is. Like in a nutshell, CAPS is employing the unemployable. That's what we're about to do. That's what I'm about to explain to you that we can do. Okay. Now, some people might say, oh, but we already have entities trying to do that. And you can go online, you can try to find a job. The homeless people are just lazy. I understand what you're trying to say, but I can't hear you right now because I have met these people. They were my friends. I prayed for them. They prayed for me. I ate with them. I was, in the line to the bathroom with them to take a shower. And I saw a lot of things while I was homeless. And let me explain this to you. My name is KM Barrios. I am the I am the CEO, founder, principal artist, and editor in chief of Amanecer Media. We've been here for about 5 years. We were called something else, which I'm not going to talk about right now, but we just had a really big awakening at the beginning of this year, and we said we're changing our name and we're changing a lot of things, and we're going to teach the world how to live a Torah life, which is a life lived under the watchful eye of God, making Him happy and being happy ourselves. And we're going to teach people how to be successful without having to take pills all the time and having to listen to people who don't believe in God, in the real God, say what we have to do to be successful. I'm going to teach you what real success is. So, this is one way to do it. So, when I say we are going to be employing the unemployable, CAPS has two pathways, and the first pathway is going to be a rehabilitation pathway because the people that we're going to be employing are going to need it. No, we're not going to be employing just anybody. I'm not looking for people with bachelor's degrees. I'm not looking for people who have even vocational studies. I'm not even looking for people who finished high school. I'm looking for people who cannot be employed or who are not employed because they are being called unemployable by the system. And people who are just so down and out in the dumps, so poor, and so systematically made into an undignified a person out of dignity that they don't even want to go out and get work. They rather sit under a bridge all day and do nothing but look at the bridge and what it's made of every single day than get a job because the system has told them you're unemployable. Or it keeps telling them you should go out and get a job, but doesn't employ them. All right. So, pathway number one, rehabilitation, is going to be for individuals who need stabilization before workforce entry. Who does this pathway serve? Homeless individuals, sex workers, trafficking survivors, returning citizens, individuals overcoming addiction, disabled individuals able to work part time. Why does this pathway exist? Well, these people can't just jump straight into employment. They need healing, they need structure, and they need stability first. So, what are we promising them? They will receive housing, which is supervised, structured, and safe, counseling, which is trauma informed all week long, um, addiction recovery, which is going to be a big partnership with rehab centers. Um, we're going to have case management with weekly evaluations. We're going to have workforce training with soft skills and certification. We're going to have savings accounts with mandatory deposits. We're going to have community supervision with house leads and resident leads. And we're going to have employment pathways for job placement. This pathway actually transforms individuals from crisis to stability to employability. Now, the second pathway is the work preparation pathway. And this is for individuals ready for rapid workforce entry. And this serves immigrants. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, immigrants, because we don't have to leave the immigrants out. We just need to live the bad stuff that happens with that. Let me just explain something. Immigrants are people who need to come to a different country because their country right now sucks for them. Okay? That's just the lowdown. All right? If you live in a city where you can't find a job, where there's a lot of crime, where your children are being raped, where you're being persecuted by gang stalkers, where you can't even take your dog out, to do his business because your next door neighbor is looking at all your bling and wants to steal it. So there are a whole bunch of different reasons why a person would want to migrate to another place. Immigrants are not always here to hurt us. They're looking for a better option because where they are is not working out for them. Now, not all immigrants are good people, but guess what? Even Jesus said that he wasn't good. So I'm not taking you on that one. What we need to make sure is that we're not endangering our people. Yes, there are immigrants that have their little problems that they need to work out. Well, maybe we have a different way of dealing with that. Maybe I haven't thought about those people just yet. But I am thinking about people who do need jobs, who have the desire to immigrate here. I want these people who want to come to our country not to keep coming in illegally. Okay? And if they keep on trying to come in illegally, well, what's going to happen is we're going to take their kids, we're going to put them in a jail cell, we're going to not feed them right, we're going to feed them what? Protein bars. I don't know what you people are doing at the borders. Completely honestly, I don't know. I have seen videos, pictures, and I'm appalled that this country is doing that. Children deserve better. And people deserve better. Just because you're trying to come into a country and you're illegal doesn't mean that your kids need to be in a jail cell. It doesn't mean that. Maybe take them to an orphanage, take care of their there, or take them to church or something like that. I'm not sure. We need a new outlook. But I want to help immigrants from the outside so that when they come in, they already have a job. They already have a pathway, a focus. Not just like, oh, I came in, I don't know what to do, well, let me just go and get all the aids that I can. No. If you want to come in here, I got a job for you and I can prepare you for that job. And I can even rehabilitate you if you've got some issues to deal with. We've got addiction recovery, we've got case management, workforce training. We'll even help you make a savings account. Why? Because it's not about keeping out people who need help. It's about building pathways that will work. Also, asylum seekers. Asylum seekers need a job. So this work preparation pathway will be for that. Also, orphans aging out and youth needing credentialing. So what will these people receive? ESL if they need it, credentialing, job placement, housing, mentorship, savings, and legal pathway support. I'm sorry, guys. My phone is going a little crazy because it keeps saying that it has debris, and absolutely no one is touching it, and there's absolutely no debris anywhere. Um, Anywho, uh, sorry about that. Um, all right, so this pathway transforms individuals from readiness to employment to leadership. And you're going to see how the CAPS program actually is built for that, like in general. It's built It's built to lead to leadership. Now, let's talk about the RISE framework. This is the engine of CAPS, okay? This is what's going to make it work. RISE stands for Restore, Invest, Secure, and Empower. Restoring, we're going to be healing trauma. We're going to be recovering from addiction. We're going to be stabilizing mental health. Because without all of these things, a person cannot function properly in a job. All right. Investing. We're going to be we're going to be investing. You know what? I'm doing something that unfortunately the devil hates. And because I'm doing something that the devil hates, there are devilish people, people who don't believe in God anymore, doing things to my technology system that I can't even explain to you, and even to my person right now. So I'm going to have to run through this as fast as I can. Okay. Um, you're not forgiven. I want you to know that. All right. So we're going to be investing. Uh, what are we going to invest in? Well, training, education, credentialing, mental health, trauma healing, addiction recovery. Um, we're going to be securing housing, savings, structure, and community. And we're going to be empowering these people. We're going to provide them with employment, mentorship, and leadership. So by year 5, every candidate, which is what we're calling uh, the people that we're going to be hiring into this program, because they are hires, they are not patients. We're not going to call them patients because they're not patients. These are people who, yes, will be in a pathway, but they are candidates. What kind of candidate? A candidate to become a dignified worker. All right. And the reason that we're going to call them candidates is because, you know, you have to work at it. You have to put effort to this. And the people that we're going to bring in, we're going to treat them with a lot of love, but we're also going to treat them with a little tough loving because, yes, we need to make them stronger. And sometimes making people strong takes, talking to them like they're adults. All right. So, what I mean is, we're not going to condescend them. We're not going to treat them like they're crazies, like they're sick. No, these are people and they need something. And we can try to give it to them as best we can. I believe that this program is doable. So we're going to, if it's approved, and I'm going to send this to Congress, to the House of Representatives, if it's approved, these people are going to end up being dignified workers and leaders in their community in ways that no one ever thought could ever happen. All right. So what's the housing strategy? I know that you heard housing and you're like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to put them all in shelters? Because the reason that they're out on the streets is that we don't have enough shelters. No, this is how CAPS is going to work. Actually, housing is the backbone of CAPS. You cannot rehabilitate someone who is sleeping under a bridge. I'm sorry. You can try. And some people make it, but it's very difficult. Very, very difficult. And we lose a lot of money in the process. You cannot train someone who is couch surfing. It's very difficult. I mean, it can be done, but these people fail. I've seen it. I've had them stalking me at my front door. Talking about Jesus, yes, but also leaving me white leotards and Taylor Swift records and roses right in front of my door and saying, no, no, I don't want anything with you. So, yeah, I don't want people living like that. I don't want people who are saying that they're rehabilitating and, they can't be rehabilitated. I want a real strategy. That's why caps exist. You cannot stabilize someone who is living in chaos. That's it. Period. That's why the drugs gotta go and so many other things. That's where your attitude needs to change. All right. So, how does this housing strategy work? We have two options. Option A, property acquisition. Property acquisition. What am I talking about? I'm talking about acquiring dwellings, houses, buildings, even motels. There's a 20 million to 25 million expenditure per 1,000 participants that I came up with. Now, the good thing about property acquisition is that it's a permanent asset. Um, it has a higher upfront cost, but it also is an investment rather than an expense, which means that you can get more out of it. It also doesn't leave much. Um, it doesn't leave much. What is that called? Um, Room for like, uh, well, hotel costs, for example, variate. So there's not a lot of variation. Plus, when you acquire property, you can request rent. Now, upfront, that's not going to be very high, but it is going to be helpful. And later on, we can talk about later. All right. So option B is a partnership model. Some people might prefer this model. It's cheaper. Obviously, it's cost efficient. It's scalable. It's fast, and it's only 8 million to 12 million per 1,000 participants. Now, how does housing work? We're talking about shared dwellings. We're talking about communities. Okay, it's not just shelter. It's structure. We're going to have resident house leads. We're going to have weekly supervision or supervision throughout the week, um, and also additional weekly supervision. We're going to have curfews. We're going to have shores. We're going to have community meetings. We're going to have no drugs, no violence, no dating inside the house, no chaos. Now, if we have housing and we want these people to get to work, we need to have some sort of transportation strategy. And I'm sorry, but one day passes for the bus, it's just not going to cut it. So, transportation is going to ensure participants can reach work, training, rehab, court, appointments, and housing. All right. And for 1,000 participants, we're going to need roughly about 15 vans. And up to 5 years, it's going to come up to a cost of about 7.5 million to 8.5 million. Remember, transportation is the difference between employment and unemployment. So this is core in the CAPS strategy. Now, what is going to be the staffing structure of CAPS? So CAPS needs to hire real people with real purpose who are actually trained. We're going to have social advocates here. They're going to be the recruiters, they're going to be transporting, and they're going to be onboarding. Okay. So when you look at a social advocate's work, what does it mean exactly? Um, Let me explain it, just an overview. As a social advocate, you're going to be a person uh, who is trained to go out in the field, find homeless persons in different settings, wherever they're found around the city. You're going to be responsible for speaking to these people about the program and telling them, we would like to help you get out of the streets. We're going to offer you housing. We're going to offer you an opportunity to get out for good out of this situation. We are offering you rehab. It's all totally free for now. You just need to give me uh, a few hours of your time so you can go with me, have some lunch, and listen to, to somebody talk about the program. And if it sounds like something that you want to be on board with, um, you get hired right away. You get out of the streets right tonight. You don't have to go back to the streets today. They're going to be transporting these people in buses or in vans to the place where they take, this meeting. Um, and just as I said, these people are going to be listening to professionals who are going to talk to them about the program, about the strategy, uh, about all that it offers, about the fact that it doesn't cost anything up front, that they will have enough time to save up before they can actually start like shelling out a lot of money for for their, or a specific amount of money, like $600, let's say, for their housing, for example. I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying that'll be it, but that they will have time to save, that they will be rehabilitated for free, um, and that bonus, they are going to be start. They're going to start earning almost immediately, um, as soon as they start their training, which will be at the same time as they are being rehabilitated. Now, some people might say, "Well, that's probably not going to work." I'm sorry. I have to get my charger here. Um, all right. Ayúdanos, Señor, yo. To be in pain, and some of them are family members. Well, they used to be. They used to be. They no longer are. Um, all right. So where was I? All right. So basically, these social advocates are going to be the first person that a that a sex worker or an addict or a homeless person or a person with disability, for example, meets. who tells them what this program is about, no, you're not forgiven, and what they can get from it, and how it can help them, and how it helps the country, and how it will help other people too, like them. Um, and you will be surprised how many of those targets actually matter to people. For example, being able to lead other people is something that persons who are, for example, homeless or sex workers don't necessarily think that they can do, but we can help them and train them for that. All right. So the next staffing person, the next staff that we're going to talk about are RISE assistants. These are case managers, mentors, evaluators, people who work together with social advocates to get all of their recruits, all of their candidates, anybody who signs to succeed. These are people that are going to be meeting with candidates every week, um, to not just not just evaluate their productivity, but also just make sure that everything in the program is working exactly as it should, that the strategy is leading them towards success. All right. We're also going to have house leads. These are weekly supervisors and community builders that come by, um, the the residences where the candidates are living, and they're going to be supervising the resident house leads, just talking with them, seeing how everything is going on, and seeing how they can help community building. Um, Resident house leads. So this is live-in support. These are people who are going to be living with the candidates, and they're going to be basically supervisors within the household, like a house mother or house father, like a house parent. That's what they're called. In sororities or fraternities, that's what this is like. All right, then we're going to have RISE managers, and these are people who are going to have regional oversight. We're also going to have program directors, and these people are going to have state and national oversight. Um, so this is a workforce, right? Not a charity. Now, I hope you're starting to get the picture of what this really is. It's a strategy to create a new workforce idea. The idea that those who appear to be unemployable are not, in fact. Um, all right. Savings, workforce, success ambassadors, data, rollout, economics. Let's talk about all that. So, our candidates are going to have savings and financial literacy. Why? Because if they don't learn how to save and about finances, they're not going to succeed within the program or outside of it. Okay. So, they're going to have a mandatory savings account. They're going to have mandatory savings that they have to put in the account. They're going to have to sign to a specific amount of money that they need to put in the account, um, whenever they get paid. This is your equivalent of having like a 401k plan, but it's not 401k because it's not tied to taxes like that. Um, but when I used to have my 401k, and this is how I actually got to pay off my car, um, when I had it, the one that got totaled, um, I put about $250 every paycheck, or every week, something like that, or every paycheck, into my account, into the 401k. And that's how I ended up with $9,000 within a space of 3 years. So yeah, these people can get to have that much money and be able to, I don't know, use that to purchase a car. Yeah, to put a down payment on on a home. Different things. All right. They're also going to have a financial literacy curriculum that they will have to follow. That's going to be part of the community building. They're also going to have matched in savings incentives. Um, and then we're going to be talking about workforce pipelines, right? So the workforce pipelines are going to be three tiers. We're going to have entry level, mid level, and advanced. Um, we're also going to have what are called success ambassadors. So when you graduate, when you become a dignified worker, um, you have graduated from your 5 year initial strategy. And once you're graduated into a dignified worker, you can opt to stay in the program for longer. And if you do that, you can become a success ambassador. And those ambassadors become mentors, leaders, and advocates for new people and for one another, obviously. All right, so how about data evaluation? So there are going to be quarterly dashboards, annual reports, continuous improvement. All of this comes from our RISE managers, from the work of program directors and RISE managers that are going to be working their little butts off to get this program, this strategy to succeed. Um, so what's the national rollout timeline? We're talking about 1 to 3 years of search, 4 to 7 years for consolidation, and about 8 to 12 years for stabilization. That's a rough draft, okay? I don't want you to think that this is how it can really just work. Um, I believe that this is just a frame. We can make it better, definitely. Um, but I think that as is, it will really work. CAPT is going to be paying for itself and then some. Um, now, I want to talk to you a little bit more about tier one, tier two, and tier three, the workforce pipeline. Give me just one moment because I missed the notes here. Uh, I was supposed to have it and I don't. Okay. So, so the three workforce tiers uh, each have a different requirement. It has pay scales, advancement pathways, and it ensures that every participant, regardless of background, can enter the workforce at the level appropriate for their stability, skills, and readiness. All right. So let's take a look at tier one. This is entry level employment. And we're talking about hospitality. All right, guys. Um, we're talking about give me a minute. Uh, we're talking about different industries here. This is candidates in the early rise stages. We're talking about restore and invest. Okay. So the industries for tier one are going to be hospitality, retail, agriculture, custodial, food service, landscaping, warehouse support, basic labor. These jobs hire quickly, require minimal credentials, provide immediate income, build confidence, build routine, build attendance habits, and build reliability. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't mean that somebody has to stay in tier one their entire lives. Okay. Or some people, humble people, they are custodials forever, all their lives. But you know what? Once you are at a certain level at entry level employment, you already have built on certain skills that you can put into a tier two job, you know? And you can just work on that. Some people don't want to, some people do. Some people are just humble like that. But I'm just saying, we're giving the three tiers out so that you can have the life that you want, that you believe that you can manage too. Because the thing is, not everybody's going to be able to manage the same thing. All right. Like, for example, a disabled person cannot do the same thing as a sex worker who has been rehabilitated into a dignified worker, you know? So, all right. And if you're going to tell me that a sex worker is a dignified worker, I'm going to tell you get out of my channel because that's not dignified. That's not dignified at all. Does the person deserve respect? Yeah. But dignified work is not prostitution. That's it. Anyway, now, CAPS is going to obviously provide transportation, also uniforms, job coaches, attendance monitoring, conflict resolution, weekly check ins, and savings enforcement. So the goal of tier one is going to be to stabilize the candidate and prepare them for tier two. But then, of course, there are going to be people who are going to be able to start out of tier two. And tier two is mid-level employment, uh, and this is going to be for workers in the secure and power stages, um, but also and for dignified workers, but also it could be for people who are just entering the workforce as candidates. Um, and the industries here are construction, logistics, healthcare support, manufacturing, trades like HVAC, electrical, plumbing, security, transportation like CDL delivery, and administrative support. These jobs pay more, require certification, they offer benefits, they offer predictable schedules, they offer long term stabilities. The Lord rebuke the devil. Excuse me. Um, they offer benefits, they offer predictable schedules, they offer long term stability, and they build career identity. And just so I'm very clear, I want absolutely no one doing anything illegal trying to listen to me. I rebuke you in the name of Yeshua. Whoever's listening to me in ways that they're not supposed to be listening to me, like illegal ways of listening through the internet, the Lord rebuke you in the name of Yeshua or through any other means. You are not forgiven. So, what will CAPS provide to these people? Certification programs, trade school partnerships, apprenticeships, licensing support, transportation, mentorship, and savings growth. Now, the goal of tier two is going to be to move the dignified worker into career stability. No, and to prepare them for tier three. But obviously, also, like I said before, tier three might be somewhere where some of these candidates enter into. You know, it will all really depend on their previous knowledge, expertise, etc. Things that they still remember to do, how to do, right? And that they would be really good at doing. So, but in any other terms, tier three would be advanced employment, and it is for success ambassadors and long term graduates. The industries here are going to include technology, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, advanced roles, public service, government support roles, education, entrepreneurship, management, skilled trades at a master level. These jobs offer high wages. They offer long term careers. They offer leadership opportunities. They offer generational wealth potential. They offer community influence. And CAPS is going to provide for them advanced training, leadership development, career coaching, networking, entrepreneurship support, management pathways. And the goal of tier three is going to be to create leaders, not just workers. So, how do participants move through the pipeline? So, this is going to be sequenced where it is available for sequence, right? So, the step one would be an assessment, right? Every candidate is going to undergo a skills assessment. Well, but this is how it's going to go, period. Step one is going to be a skills assessment, literacy assessment, mental health assessment, addiction recovery status, legal status, work history, strengths and interests, all of that into step one, right? Then in step two, a candidate is placed into one of the three tiers, right? Uh, tier one is going to be the most common. We understand that. Tier two is going to be, if they're ready for that. Tier three is going to be rare, but still possible, right? We don't want to leave any opportunity out because the more money we can put into this country and the more people we can put to work, the less debt we will have and the more dignified people we will have working. All right. And bonus, Ron DeSantis doesn't have to, go crazy on us and try to put people in jail for being on the streets. It's really, you don't understand. It's not their fault. Not all of them. Anyway, step three will be training. And training is going to include soft and hard skills certifications, ESL if needed, digital literacy, and financial literacy. Step four is going to have employment. CAPS is going to partner with employers, unions, trade schools, hospitals, logistics companies, tech companies, government agencies. That's called the works. And it's a tasty, tasty burger. All right. This also ensures, by the way, that more companies um, trust the government and trust working with the government because they will have a better heart. Just so you know, we're going to become more friends with our businesses, small and large. It's going to be so good, guys. All right. So step five, monitoring. RISE assistants are going to be tracking attendance, performance, savings, behavior, and stability. Obviously, behavior also includes housing behavior. Um, in step six, we're going to see advancement. So after 12 to 24 months, a candidate must be going from tier one to tier two, or from tier two to tier three. Okay, we're expectant of this. In step seven, we're going to see leadership. So we're at this point, you're going to see graduates. We're going to see dignified workers becoming success ambassadors, mentors, supervisors, trainers, and community leaders. Um, how will CAP partner with employers? We're not going to ask employers to hire. We're going to solve their labor shortage. All right. So employers are going to be, we're going to give them the full scope. An employer who partners with CAPS is going to benefit with pre screened workers, transportation that's going to be provided to these people, attendance that's going to be extra monitored, job coaches outside of the workplace, conflict resolution outside of the workplace, tax incentives, reduced turnover, and community impact. What? Tell me you don't want to work with this right now. Just tell me that you don't want to do this. Why would you not? All right. CAPTA is going to guarantee workers showing up, workers supervised, workers supported, workers trained, and accountability. And employers love CAPS because it reduces turnover, training costs, HR strain, absenteeism, and will produce and will increase productivity, stability, and loyalty. Some of these workers that come off the streets, not just out of gratefulness, but out of preparation through the CAPS program, if we do it right, are going to be better workers than the one who came in with a bachelor's degree. I promise you. All right. Now, how CAPS ensures worker success includes the following: transportation, no missed shifts, job coaches, weekly support, attendance monitoring, accountability. Conflict resolution means no workplace blowups. Savings enforcement means financial stability. Mentorship, emotional support. Community, belonging. Identity, which goes into the CAP, and I haven't talked to you about the CAP yet, which means purpose. All right. So this workforce pipeline is going to reduce poverty by creating income, stability, savings, skills, mobility, leadership, identity, and community. Poverty collapses, guys, when people work, save, grow, they feel like they belong, and they are capable of leading. So the this workforce pipeline for CAPS is the anti-poverty engine. For this to work into the 12-year national rollout, we need to make sure that within years 1 through 3, we're doing tier 1 expansion, rapid employment, stabilization. Within years 4 to 7, we do tier 2 expansion, a certification growth, career mobility. Excuse me, I hear this interference that I'm going to deal with very effectively at some point. Years 8 through 12, tier 3 expansion, leadership development, and national workforce transformation. So there is this symbol that we're going to be using, okay? And I don't want to talk to you about that just yet, but I do want to remind you how the workforce pipeline is going to connect to the economic model. Per 1,000 participants in 5 years, that's a candidate to a dignified worker uh, timeline. We're talking about a cost of 46.5 to 59.5 million with returns of 55 to 78 million. Okay. Again, this can be bettered. A policymaker, someone with economic understanding of this nation's deficit and other kinds of things, and who is a true Christian, would help me get a whole lot more money, a whole lot more. Nationwide, with 100,000 participants in 10 years, the cost goes from roughly 4.65 billion, 5.95 billion to returns of 9.52 billion and 13.3 billion. So the workforce pipeline is actually the profit center of CAPS. All right. All right. So now that you have that breakdown, excuse me, I'm trying to get back to my notes here. Um, hold on, hold on, because I'm seeing again, there's some interference here, and this is all, fortunately, part of being a victim of electronic harassment. Um, all right. So, in my personal belief, this nation is in a moment of spiritual rededication, right? We've seen it. We just saw it, right, with Donald Trump, out at the National Mall. There were thousands of people out there. What were they doing? Praying and praising the Lord for hours, for 9 hours. Okay. But this rededication had nothing to do with Donald Trump himself, really, except for God, you know? So we are taking this time to rededicate not to a political figure, not to a party, but to God, so that we can earn justice, mercy, responsibility, community, dignity, and so that we can add light to our life. I believe we are living in a moment where the nation is turning its heart back toward what is good, what is right, what is holy, and what is healing. And I believe that CAPS is a part of that turning, a structural revival for the economic, for the emotional, for the mental health of this country, and for the spiritual health. Because, yes, spiritual health is important. All right. Uh, what in the world did I mean that I made CAPS the purposeful name of this strategy? Well, every dignified worker, not every dignified worker, every candidate at the beginning when they sign up, they will receive a cap, like a ball cap. This is a physical, wearable symbol that will identify dignity, belonging, progress, purpose, identity, personal identity, and a covenant. And each of these caps is going to have a word chosen by the participant, which is like their declaration of who they are becoming. Like, for example, your cap could say brave. The next one could say, good. The next one could say family, because that's what you want out of this, out of your success in the program. Maybe kind, because you want to be a kinder person. Whatever you are becoming, that is what your cap is going to say. And this is not merch, guys. Okay. This is identity based transformation. The cap is going to be a part of the program, of the strategy, and we're going to wear it very often. All right. How often? Maybe as often as every day you go to work, because we want to identify our cap workers as, different from the rest of your team. Maybe, maybe. Let's see how it works out. But in any other sense, at the very least, we're going to be wearing it, for our uh, community activities, our trainings, our mental health, rehabilitation, etc. How I don't know how this sounds to you up until now, guys, but every time I read this, it sounds better, and it sounds like it will work. We just need to put it into action. Now, I did not come to this place out of theory. I came this I came here from a place of survival. I know what it is like to rebuild a life from ashes. I know what it is like to claw your way out of darkness. I know what it is like to wake up one day and realize you survived things that should have destroyed you, especially God's wrath. Especially. And I know what it is like to look at a broken system and say, this is not good enough. We can do better. So CAPS is not an academic idea. It is the blueprint I wish existed when I needed it. when other people needed it. So that not only some people would be out of the streets, but so that some of those people who are addicted on the streets, prostituting themselves, being trafficked, didn't die in horrible ways, were not perpetrated by people who took advantage of them. There are a lot of branching things and bad fruit that goes into poverty and the allowance of poverty. Not having caps is a crime, and we need to stop being criminals right now. Unsolicited Media, my enterprise, was born from the belief that stories can save lives. We don't just publish books. We don't just create content. We don't just try to inspire. We're we're an intervention. We're advocates. We illuminate people, or at least that's what we want. We take the stories of the broken and turn them into blueprints for national change. CAPS is one of those blueprints. All right, hold on, guys. Now, um, if you believe in everything that I believe, you know, you would have a personal conviction shaped by faith, by prayer, by experience, um, and you would take this moment of rededication not just to see it as a political partisan um, revival, but a spiritual revival. These people need us. These unemployables who can turn into candidates if they just hear the words of someone saying, I want to help you. You're going to make a lot of money in just 5 years. You're going to have a home tonight. You're going to have a good meal tonight. You're not going to have to struggle anymore with mental health, with your drug addiction. You're not going to have to sell your body anymore. You're not going to wonder, if it's going to rain or not, and if you're going to stay, dry out, or if your children are going to be able to eat, or if you're going to have any shoes for them. Because, bonus, a lot of these people have their children out on the streets. I've seen them. I've seen I've seen terrible things. And my heart was going out in that moment, and I was saying, I have so many talents. I am such a smart person. I'm on the streets because I stupidly dated the wrong persons. And those persons put me on the streets through terrorism, dating abuse, ritual abuse, electronic harassment, things that shouldn't exist but do. So I'm telling you right now, these people need us. They need a turning of their heart. They need hope. They need to return to purpose. They need to return to being responsible. They need someone who will be compassionate over just a charity. They need a returning to God. And I believe that CAPS will be the part that makes a turning point, a structural expression of a spiritual truth. And guess what? We rise when we lift others. It's our time for this country to not think about becoming great overnight just because some politician got into a podium. We need to rise by learning, by growing anew. And actually, the CAPS strategy is part of my Grow Anew program proposal. This is just one of them. So here's my message to the House, both of representatives and the white one. Um, we can do this. We can reduce homelessness. We can reduce addiction. We can reduce trafficking. We can reduce poverty. We can stabilize the national debt. We can build a stronger workforce. We can build stronger communities. We can build a stronger nation. We can build people who are stronger and dignified. We can grow out of being children, out of being Peter Pan, not with charity or slogans or a temporary fix, but with strategy, with CAPS, the Coalition Against Poverty Strategy, a national blueprint, a national rising, a transformation across the board, which will ricochet in other nations. America has always been at its best when we choose courage over comfort, strategy over chaos, and hope over fear. I just told you that in my last message. So tonight, I'm asking you to choose courage, to choose the strategy that can put an end to poverty, put an end to despair, put an end to hopelessness, and help us to get rid of all this debt and sorrow and crime and needless deaths. So, caps on, hope on, America on. Let's put the cap on America's future, a future where every person has dignity, purpose, and a place to call home. I want to thank you so much for listening to me. Um, you've been very quiet and helpful. Thank you very much. I hope that you were able to stay for the whole hour. It's actually been an hour and 12 minutes. Um, I am going to be sending this to the House of Representatives, and it is my biggest, greatest hope that anybody who hears this, um, I want you to know you have my full permission if you have the House power. I'm talking about the House of Representatives or the White House power, or even in another nation, power, leadership power to enact the CAP strategy. Take it. You know, if you want to send me an email, that's fine. But I'm giving you specifically permission. You don't need to contact me. If you are a person in government and you have the power to get this going and you are a Christian, because I need you to know the true God and I need you to know the true Messiah and I need you to only worship them. Not, we're not talking about Islam here. We're not talking about santeros. If you're any of those things, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to contact me first. But anybody else who's a Christian, of a Christian mind, who follows Adonai and Yeshua, and who would put this to work for their country, to end their poverty, to end undignified work and undignified living in their countries, I give you full permission to use it without having to name me in any framework. Don't even name me. I don't care. Do it. I will know. I will know. And I won't come after you. I will stand up and I will give you an ovation and I will cry because I knew that somebody did something good for others. This program can work and it has to be put into place. It has to. So I thank you so much for listening. That's all I have for tonight, guys. Yes, I'm done. Uh, I hope not just for tonight, uh, because Unsolicited Media wants to do very many more things with you. Tomorrow, we'll probably talk a little bit about the dollar bill and how I think that it needs to be eradicated. Um, because you see, we have a problem with the dollar bill, and it is that it cannot be, it has to stay the way it is. And well, I have an idea to change that. It's legal, it's fun, and it's going to give everybody a new perspective on the economy. It's also going to take us out of the curse that's over the mint, which is probably why this country calls itself great and is able to do so many things, but is $37 trillion in debt. Um, I'm going to help us out of that if somebody can listen. Um, Laila Tov, or good night. I bid you all that the Lord places Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Rafael at your house, all corners of your house, so that you'll be protected tonight. May He be merciful and give you good dreams. May you have, you know, if you've already had dinner and are going to bed, may everybody go safely to bed and wake up safely in the morning. Um, may you read the Bible every day. Um, may you wake up with a smile because God is smiling at you. Blessed be the Lord. He wants that. He loves you so much. You don't know how much. Right now, the love is, no, palpable. Um, now, okay, I'm gonna call my nieces and have a good night, guys. I am not gonna forgive you for that. It's not Jesus, that's why.